Welcome to Wildcat Science with Mrs. Haugo. This is human biology and we are in our psychology unit, part 4. And today we're going to start talking about psychology, the brain, love, relationships, and sex. We are going to go, in our notes, go through the stages of love and what it has to do with your brain now that we've learned all about our brains. So stage 1 could be considered lust. It is a physical attraction. It happens very quickly, if you remember from the video, and it is driven by our sex hormones, androgens, testosterone, and estrogen. Please write that down. The next phase is attraction or infatuation, and in this phase, people are extremely focused on the relationship and not on other things. They think about that person a lot, and all the other things kind of go by the wayside a little bit. And one characteristic is idealizing your partner. Everything they do, everything they say, everything they send you on social media seems amazing. You're like, oh my goodness, he's so dreamy. Another characteristic of our brain, if we remember dopamine from our brain So with a brain review, dopamine is a neurotransmitter and it is involved in the reward pathway. So during this stage of attraction, dopamine levels are high and they trigger your pleasure centers and the reward pathway. So thinking about the partner, interacting with this person, any kind of physical interaction, kissing, hugging, snuggling would all trigger that. Also involved is adrenaline. So being in love is stressful. When you see somebody that you like, your heart will start to beat fast, sweating. And also, interestingly enough, serotonin is low during this time. So your mind is actually obsessed with the relationship. Serotonin, if you remember, is another one of our neurotransmitters, and it is important for mood stabilizing. So people in this stage of a relationship are often not in the most stable moods, and also there is some obsession. Somebody might be like, oh my goodness, what do you think she's doing right now? I can't stop thinking about her. These are all characteristic of stage 2, the attraction phase. So stage 2 attraction is not sustainable. It cannot go on forever. So either that fades, perhaps you get to know the person a little bit more and it's not as great as it first seemed, or you do get to know them more and you become more attached to them and you start a relationship. So this is having strong bonds over a longer period of time. And there are quite a few neurochemicals that are involved with this also. So one of the important ones for attachment is oxytocin, which is a hormone important with breastfeeding mothers, but it is important for everyone, adults, children, males, females. So oxytocin is intimacy releases feel-good hormones and strengthens bonding, and it's also involved with breastfeeding. FYI, something to think about for the future, there is no such thing as casual sex as far as your brain is concerned. Any kind of physical intimacy, and particularly orgasms, will just flood your brain and your body with hormones. Oxytocin and vasopressin are some of them, and it will really strengthen the bond between a couple of people. So if this is someone where it's like, maybe not the best person to get involved with, or maybe not the best time for you to get involved with somebody, then it is, as your brain's concerned, ill-advised to do so. Oxytocin is also involved in all non-sexual relationships, so friends, your dog, parents, siblings, So anytime you snuggle, like a parent snuggles with a kid, oxytocin would be released, and that would be some bonding. Petting a dog releases oxytocin, so it's just a good bonding hormone. Another important bonding hormone is vasopressin, and this is important in long-term commitments. So looking at people and other mammals like prairie voles and mice, if they have two mice, a male and a female, that aren't interacting, and then the male is given vasopressin, it will all of a sudden start taking care of the female. Perhaps if it was a pregnant female or a nursing female, it'll start bringing it food, and it'll start a relationship with it. It'll, well, cuddle with it. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. We're going to be looking into what is love. The Harvard University has a nice site about love actually, and they call it the total eclipse of the brain. So think of the last time you ran into someone you found attractive. You may have stammered, your palms may have sweated, you might have said something incredibly not so smart and tripped spectacularly while trying to saunter away. Chances are your heart was thudding in your chest, and it's no surprise that for centuries people thought love arose in the heart. Well, it turns out it's in your brain, and that makes the rest of your body go haywire. And Dr. Helen Fisher has studied love and sex and the brain for many years, and she broke it up into our three stages: love, attraction, and attachment. And so we've got our butterflies, lust, as we talked about. The hormones there are testosterone and estrogen. And then the next stage, attraction, like we talked about, dopamine, norepinephrine or cortisol or adrenaline, all kind of our stress hormones, and low levels of serotonin. And then attachment, and we talked about your hormones, vasopressin and oxytocin. Okay, let's get chemical. Looking at the stage of lust, it is driven by the desire for sexual gratification. The evolutionary basis for this stems from our need to reproduce, need shared by all living things. Through reproduction, organisms pass on their genes and contribute to the perpetuation of the species. The hypothalamus, which you know from the endocrine system, plays a big role in this and stimulates the production of the stress hormone, sex hormones, though they can be stressful sometimes. Testosterone and estrogen from the testes and the ovaries. While we often think of them as male and female, both play a role in men and women, and so as it turns out, testosterone increases libido in men and women. The effects are less pronounced with estrogen, but some women report being more sexually motivated around the time they ovulate when estrogen levels are high. How is the hypothalamus involved in all stages? Well, in lust, we know our sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen are really involved. So the hypothalamus releases the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which tells the testes and the ovaries to release their hormones. During the attraction phase, the hypothalamus releases dopamine, which we know is that reward pathway that fuels attraction. And then attachment, the hypothalamus releases oxytocin and vasopressin, which is a feel-good attachment hormone. And if we look at our brain, at the pituitary gland, which the hypothalamus talks to the pituitary gland, they're both involved in love. And then your prefrontal cortex is involved with the other hormones. I think we're going to pause there, and then in the next part, we're going to finish talking about attraction and your brain, and then we're going to focus on long-term relationships. All right, see you then. Bye.